To every single person backing me on Patreon, you are the heartbeat of this journey. Your belief in what I do transforms simple ideas into the content you see here. And it is the reason I can dedicate every day to this mission. It is more than just support. It is the fuel that keeps this creative fire burning and allows me to show up for you full time. If you feel called to help build the future of this podcast, scan the QR code on your screen and join our community. A special thank you goes out to Cal Tourette, Mark Estrada, Ann Trin, Shahira Marina, Savannah Wolford, Lorena Garcia, Jamar Meeks, Martin Cabrera Pavez, Elena Sosadeco, Diego Navarro Lunares, Kay Fernandez, Rodolfo Fernandez, Lucius Lau, Taylor Hunter, Jackson Frazier, Allison Stalker, Muna Chisonweek, Elizabetta Maria Mengado. Thank you all so much for supporting me on Patreon. All right, well, welcome to the ADC Podcast. I have a very, very special guest today, Mr. Andrew Scherman. And we had a first recording of this, and my software got a little buggy, so sorry we had to redo this again. We were talking about our nickname, Andy, as being, known in like our personal circles, but then, we have our professional names, that we go by whenever we're being hired. I want to ask you a question, and you tell me if this is true or not. Did I kind of, in a very, very small way, kick off your professional career? Like in the tiniest, smallest little way like possible at Cosmic Toast?
Short answer, yes. my appreciation for it is immense. Like I'm literally trying to keep. I was literally today, no joke whatsoever. Just kind of like shower thoughts, legit. Just kind of thinking about the humans who got me where I'm at right now. Like, yeah, you made a huge difference. Like, my friend Richard, who let me move in with them, made a huge difference. And you guys were kind of like my spiritual advisors in that regard.
Thank you.
You were very honest, very firm, when something wasn't that great versus when something was working. And it's just like, yes, sir. Yeah.
I cracked the whip. You can go ahead and say that. I'm a bit of a taskmaster. No, I'm kidding. But no, we met through our mutual friend Richard, who has also been on the podcast. So if you get a chance, please listen to his. I think it's like podcast 4 or 5. And I remember like coming over one day, and like this was like, I want to say the Burbank house or something. This was like before everybody had moved. I'm not sure if I met you at the Burbank house, or if you had, you were part of the next wave once they all had to depart from the Burbank house. And what I mean by the Burbank house, it was an apartment with like literally like satellite talent flying in from the East Coast. Richard would just, I don't know how, he would find the most talented people from the East Coast and just bring them over. And I think at one point the neighbors were like, hey, there's like way too many people living in this one spot. I think they just, ended up getting, told to leave or something. And then it was Canyon Country, which is where I was staying. And I remember I told Richard, I'm like, you guys got to come over here to Canyon because it's bigger places and nobody cares. Nobody cares how many people are like living here, So it's perfect for, bringing more talent in. And I want to say that's how we met, right? Like, was it through, like I must have come over one day and like, I'm like, oh, who's this new person in the living room?
That's pretty spot on, honestly. I first met them in person when they invited me over to stay for a little bit. When there was in November of the year before I moved in with them, it was for CTN. And they're like, oh, it's this big event. It's going to be this great networking event. Like, you should come. And I'm just like, you know what? I got a little extra scratch. I'll do it. And then I finally met those, that group of guys in person. I had been Skyping and hanging out with them forever. And not to divert too much, but Richard was a dude that I found in the grand old days of DeviantArt.
Whoa.
Ow, my back.
That website, man. Wow.
Yeah.
My gosh.
And I remember seeing this dude's style for the first time, and I was kind of like, it was the first time I realized maybe music isn't really going to be my career, because I was focusing on music for a little bit. I still like to draw, and this dude's style was absolutely blowing my mind, and I couldn't wait to like make friends with him. And then one day on another platform, we started talking because he realized like, oh, we have a lot of overlapping interests. So we got to talking. He introduced me to his friends who he was living with, and then for the first year and a half maybe, we would just kind of meet up and talk on Skype, and it was like, I feel like I've known you guys my whole life. Wow. I think this could work. And fast forward, I'm living with them in the Burbank house. The Burbank house.
So you were part of the Burbank house, okay.
Yeah. And it's just like, is this what animation networking is like? This is crazy. Like,
had you ever done that before? Just like decided to just like leave everything and just go for this whole anime? Because you mentioned music, and if anyone who knows you, you're playing I mean a multitude of instruments. I think you can sing, you can do it all. So it's kind of crazy to think like, so like, was music something you were like dead set on doing, and animation just sort of fell in your lap? Like what was that about? Like in terms of how you diverted from music to animation?
So I love when people ask me this. I love it because this is something, no joke, that I kind of through, my last couple of years of therapy and introspection and just kind of learning more about myself and others and everything is, I started drawing when I was really, really little, of course. And when I was in grade school, I grew up very neurospicy, very ADHD, very just kind of in my own mind, and sitting still when you're like that is hell. It's awful. So I never really liked school. I couldn't really relate to most of the kids there. So just to kind of escape, I would draw. I would draw where I'd rather be. I would draw myself at the beach surfing or skateboarding or something, and it was a form of therapy for me. And then over time, people would look over my shoulder, hey, what you doing? And I'm drawing.
The one thing you didn't want to happen, you wanted to be away from people. Now you're attracting people.
I mean, it was kind of cool because, like, oh, people like take me seriously, like, because I can do something. Because, it was, I grew up in a ritzy beach town where everyone was very, very, you were either like an all-star athlete or a mathlete, you were academically awesome.
Are you from Jersey as well? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you from Jersey as well? Okay, great.
Mm-hmm. And I'll always have deep love for Jersey. That's where I was born. Every time I go back, it's just like, those first couple years, like when I was just kind of drawing for fun, it was like therapy for me. So when people would start going, you should do that, I was like, oh wow, yeah, maybe. But it was the sitting still thing that kind of really slowed it down for me, because I wanted to do something active. I wanted to like jump out of airplanes. I wanted to, drive race cars. I wanted to surf on giant waves. Because I still am a big adrenaline junkie, and sitting at a desk was never like my favorite thing to do. So fast forward to high school and college, I was still doing it just to kind of keep myself sane, but I was also learning how to play guitar, and because I love music so much, I listen to everything from heavy metal to like
Right.
ambient stuff. It's everything and country in between.
You say metal because I think when I first met you, your hair was like super long. You were like,
uh-huh.
you know, you look like, yeah, you were into like heavy metal shirts. Like, you know, you were like all into that. You look like a
Yeah.
musician. You know, I'm like, who's this guy? What the? So was metal what you played, or do you mind if I ask the name of
Yeah.
your former band, or maybe even your current band?
Oh yeah. So I remember I was in college. I was in community college in New Jersey, and I was already like, yeah, this is my favorite genre. It was like the loudest, craziest, most like diverse genre ever, and I got to kind of express my love for fantasy and mythology and loud, crazy sounds all in one beautiful little community. But I didn't really have a lot of people to talk to about it. I was always just kind of the misfit in that regard that listened to the
Oh,
evil,
I see.
satanic, evil music, where everyone else was listening to like pop punk and ska and country and stuff. And so it was pretty. It was kind of a bummer, but I just dealt with it. Like I knew what I liked, and eventually, I met this person in one of my art history classes. Go figure.
Whoa.
He saw that I had a Lamb of God shirt, and he's just like, "Hey, you're wearing a Lamb of God shirt." I'm like, "I am." And he's like, "My band's playing tomorrow night. You want to come?" I'm like, "Oh,
Whoa.
yeah." I'm like, "Friends who play metal? Yes." And like, I was just like desperate because like there was just no one like in this
Wow.
area. So through that, I met this. I met other people in this band called Endless Lament, and they were playing just kind of like this hodgepodge of different styles, like power metal and thrash metal. And as soon as I met them, they broke up.
Oh.
And
Whoa.
and I'm like, oh, so I was friends with them on Facebook, and then I saw like, or not Facebook, MySpace. This goes.
Whoa! Oh my God! Be careful.
Uh,
Your back is really gonna. I'm feeling it in my back right now. Jeez.
I'm gonna have to do the rest of this on my back.
Let me get my cane. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah.
Explain to kids what MySpace was. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like Facebook, but less chaotic. Like early proto social media for dinosaurs.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah, but like
accessible by your computer, right? Not even by like a cell phone. You you had to get on your computer to like access
I still had
it.
a flip phone.
Yeah, right.
But it was a great platform because it was compared to now. You know, it's much more sophisticated now, but it was very lightweight. You know, you could find bands, you could find friends with similar interests. It was like the birth of social media. Like still, I mean, there was like LiveJournal and other stuff like that around then, but this really kind of felt like, this is a place where I can just kind of, you know, express myself and find other people like me, because I just couldn't find anybody like me. So when I was when I learned that the band that I went to go see, that dude I met in art history class invited me to go see.
Yeah.
They put a ad out. They're looking for a new singer.
Wow. Talk about timing right there.
Like life is crazy, man.
Could that be the theme of your whole life? Like timing has just been your like absolute like lightning bolt. You're always in the right place at the right time, and boom, it just hits. Like
and like not to jump ahead too much, but heavy metal had another part to play in that, as I said before. Like it's like when my buddy Richard invited me to come live with them out west. It was a shared interest for like, you know, crazy music. But like at the time, going back to the MySpace days, my party trick, so to speak, was doing like death metal vocals, like extreme death metal vocals, because that was all the stuff I was listening to, and I was driving back and forth to community college, practicing, you know, just because it was so fun. It was just such a release for me, because I was just a frustrated, confused, you know, in my early 20s, like, what do I want to do with my life? Oh, this is fun. And a friend of mine who, I guess he's just like, dude, you're so good at that. You should audition. Because turns out he was mutual friends with those guys. I'm like, okay, small world. And I'm like, you know what could it hurt? Maybe I'll make some friends out of it. So I went to this dude's house in Belmar, New Jersey, and auditioned for them. I even tried auditioning for guitar, and I couldn't play to save my life, but I did it anyway. Why not? And it took a couple days, and I saw their chats, and it's like, dude, that guy was awesome. Screw it, he's in. And
wow.
And man, I was so excited, and so I ended up playing a couple shows with these guys. I made really good friends with these guys, and then that band that ended up dissolving, and then I met a couple other friends through that band who just lost their guitarist and their bassist, and they were trying to reform, and I was trying to get better guitar, and this was a band called Fiacra.
Okay.
And
nice
so I joined them on playing rhythm guitar, and it turns out I think like I wasn't even really that good, but I think they're just like, screw it, he's in because I could hang. Like I realized these guys were like bosom buddies. Like we all were into the same stuff. We like, He-Man and fantasy and heavy metal. Like nice. It's just, when you meet your tribe, you're just like, oh
yeah, like these are my people. These are just my people.
Yeah,
these are these are my weirdos. This like
they're my weirdos.
Yeah, like this is us.
And I'm happy to say that to this day I'm still friends with all those guys. Oh. Like they're my buddies. Like I love those guys. Like they really played a big part of my growing up and just kind of learning how to be a human,
Yeah. Which I think we're all still
a lot of just learning the ways of the world through that. Yeah.
That is so amazing. Can I ask you this too?
Yeah.
Did your parents give you any kind of like, hey, like, you should be an accountant. You should, also like, we understand you're, talented and all this sort of stuff, but like, have something to fall back on or something? Or was it like, go for it, do whatever you like? Like I always kind of hear either like they had like really supportive parents, or like, if you do this, I'm going to disown you type of thing. So I don't know where you fall, if you're somewhere in the middle, or if your parents have always kind of supported your wild and crazy ideas.
Another great question that I get a lot of eyebrow raises. So I'm very happy to say that my mom was always my biggest cheerleader in this regard. I don't want to say to a fault, but as someone who grew up with like all these interests, and it's just like every day is I want to do something different. She is not ADHD or neurodivergent as far as I know. So she just had a bullseye plan for me when she realized, like my son can draw. That's what he's going to do.
Wow.
She used to joke when I was really little, before I really kind of developed anything. Oh, you're just going to be my rich little neurosurgeon, and you're so smart. And the kind of thing I wish for everyone. Just when your parents have hope for you and everything, it's dope. But she was pretty adamant. And again, like, this is weird. Like, usually the stereotype is just like, oh, don't be an artist, you'll starve to death. Like you're not going to make any money. And I guess she saw something different in me, because my teachers would be like, oh, he's the class artist. He's, wow. I remember winning a couple awards in grade school for outstanding student in art, which is just, it's still.
Were you a good student too? Like, were you a good student as well, or was art just like your knack, or were you good at other stuff too?
I think, like, since my attention was mostly on active stuff, I did just okay in school.
I was a terrible student, so
like I would fail certain things, and not even joking, my worst subject, I was getting like zeros in this subject. In hindsight, it was the teacher. She was just not a good person. Music.
Whoa. That's shocking. So you had a teacher who just basically was like, this isn't music, whatever you're listening to, or whatever you wanted to play. And is that sort of like what happened?
So music class. I'm not sure if it's the same from school to school across the country, but this one was very kind of regimented. It's just like, okay, here is this composer, here's what they did. And then, we'd all get on glockenspiels and just kind of like learn rhythm and time and everything. And I was just thinking about dragons and waves and ocean, like sharks and stuff. Like I couldn't care less because it was and when it came to having to do written stuff, I was just confused because it was just learning music is learning another language. So I had growing up with a learning disability, this particular teacher did not make the stuff come alive for me. She was more of a bully. She definitely had it out for me. Do not miss this person at all. And my mom would always just be like, so how's, that teacher, how's she doing? Because she hated this lady.
Wow.
So like, it was kind of like this amazing solidarity, coming from my mom. It's just like, no, don't worry about her. She sucks. Like, do better, please, but she sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was always my worst subject. And even in middle school, like, funny enough, middle school for me was, we never left that building, like from our elementary school, and we had a high school right across the street.
That's convenient.
Yeah, but I was always mostly in smaller classrooms because I had a hard time paying attention. So they would put me in like the smaller classrooms.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So less like teacher to student ratio, like where like the teacher would be able to give more attention. And, I remember my school always being like, 60 kids or something. And it's like, you almost never see the teacher, because it's just so many people, it was more like, here's your assignment, get it done, that sort of thing. Which, in hindsight, working in animation, that's not so bad because a lot of times they give you a script and say, okay, like turn in your, when to turn in your thumbs, like, here's your deadline, and they just let it go. So I mean, in a weird way, like I sort of like it when people are not very like on top of me, or I don't know. I just always get the feeling like they don't trust me, or they don't trust that I'm going to like make the deadline or deliver or something. So when someone's like really on top of me, it just kind of like throws me off a little bit. But I don't know. So your mom's like, championing you to go to art. She sees you're, multi-talented in a lot of different things. And at this point, you're in community college. Do you make the jump to like, I don't know, like a university or like a something outside of community? Where I'm from, I would always get made fun of in community college. It's like, oh, it's just high school part 2. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, and to a certain degree, sure, it's not taken as seriously as like some of the other, more prestigious schools. But did you just stay in community, or did you decide to move on to like another college or anything? Oh, okay. So, he's like, it's coming. It's coming.
It's coming. Here it comes. The juicy stuff. Yeah. So like, now that I think about it, my choice to go to community college was mostly kind of spurned by my mom, because I think we both realized it's just like, I don't think either of us know what Andrew wants to do. So let's just kind of like, instead of just having him go away to his school, let's just ease him into it. And I'm honestly glad we did. I mean, it wasn't super expensive, but it wasn't super cheap either.
I see.
But I pretty much did that for 3 years, and I made my my major arts, and we figured that since they had like a more kind of commercial arts program there,
may I ask what the name of the school was?
Oh yeah. So it was Brookdale Community College in Lincroft, New Jersey. Yeah, and
got it.
And like, It was fine. I made a ton of like my core group of friends there. That's pretty much where I became known as Andy, because up until then I was Andrew. And because I had this friend in high school who insisted on calling me Andy.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I wasn't, for whatever reason or another, a big fan of the name Andy. I thought it kind of sounded.
It's weird, right? Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It
Like,
is like one of those
silly
things
or
where,
something.
yeah, like it's not like this like commanding, sort of like, respect me sort of name. It's like, it's a name like you just like say because you like the person, or they're just really,
Yeah.
oh, Andy's so sweet, or Andy's, it's just like a very kind of endearing sort of nickname.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I've kind of struggled with it too, because I'm like, should I just keep going by Andy, or should I ever use my actual name? And like, I don't know, I kind of felt the same way, like a little bit conflicted by the nickname, because it's very polarizing. Once someone calls you Andy, they don't want to really call you anything else. It's kind of hard to get people to come around and say, well, that's not my actual name.
You're 100% right. That's really that's how it went for me. And because I always thought like Andy made me sound like a sissy or something, like, it's like Andy, or like Toy Story or something.
Toy
like
Story for sure.
Yeah, like, oh, that's what a little kid's name is. I'm in my 20s.
Yeah. I'm 43.
And but
no,
she kept, yeah. But she kept calling me Andy, and then when I got to Brookdale, she was there too, and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to pursue a major at Brookdale. Like I'm not
nice.
ready for university or anything." And so like we stayed friends, of course. We're still friends to this day.
Wonderful.
But yeah, and there was this group of kids there, adults, young adults.
Yeah.
There that I still affectionately call the couch circle, and that's kind of where I feel like I found my tribe. It's just like, where it's just like, dude, you're not a surfer dude, you're not an academic genius, you're a nerd. You like cartoons and video games,
yes.
and dragons and swords and stuff, and like, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, I can be myself here
and not be judged or feel
everyone as Andy.
Yeah, like that is amazing. So you meet this like great group of people. You're on DeviantArt. Like I'm again, DeviantArt to me was such a big, I don't want to say like a milestone, but like I still wasn't quite in social media. I mean, I had a MySpace and that sort of stuff, but I didn't really feel like I would share too much of like art on it. Like it would just be more of like my actual like daily life. But DeviantArt felt like, okay, this is a place where I could feel inspired. I can look at other artists and see what they're doing. And I didn't realize it at the time, but there is quite a big community of like, anthropomorphized characters, human. I mean, you see it on every like Disney movie now, like Zootopia, what is like the biggest grossing film of all time. And it's like characters, human like, animals. And there was a really big scene on that, like on DeviantArt. I remember like thinking to myself, like, wow, like people are like really doing like amazing stuff with this. I mean, and then you had like people who are like into CGI, and like it was a very big sort of like community. I think it's become ArtStation now, I think is what whoever bought them out now or something. But so at that point you're in school, you've met Richard, and now is Richard's like, hey, come out for CTN. And if those of you who don't know, CTN is Creative Talent Network, which was founded by a lady named Tina, who I believe was a feature animator at Disney. and she created. I will just say this. I mean, one of the most spectacular shows ever. I mean, especially for people coming from different parts of the world and the country, and allowing them to literally be in front of DreamWorks, be in front of Disney, Nickelodeon, have their work looked at. I mean, like it was an absolute phenomenon. I want to say from like 2009 to maybe like, gosh, I think it's still going on. By the way, I know Lightbox is also a pretty big, massive thing as well. But so at that point, do you tell your mom, hey, like I had this opportunity to move to the West Coast and pursue animation, or are you just like, hey, I'm gonna go to the CTN and then never come back? Like, what was that like?
So after I graduated with an associate's at Brookdale, I was still kind of like, well, now what? So I shot my shot and tried to get into an art school. And that art school was the School of Visual Arts in New York City.
Ooh.
And thankfully I got in with my
Nice.
portfolio. I had this awesome teacher help me put together a portfolio at Brookdale. They were just like, oh yeah, you should pursue animation and cartoons because that's clearly what you want to do. And I love that you brought up like kind of anthropomorphic animals and like funny animals, and like at the end of my kind of tenure at Brookdale is when I discovered. Well, I didn't really discover because I'd known about it since high school, but like I didn't really have the confidence to post anything online yet. It's where I found that whole scene of like furries, people who have characters that are animals, and what I found so endearing about it is just like these guys make a point to really kind of capture that like Silver Age through Disney Renaissance sensibility when it comes to designing their characters, and that's something that really kind of triggered a lot of nostalgia for me, because before that I was kind of like a big anime manga fan, and just I was
I would never know that looking at your work, like honestly, like I never knew that, like until right now I did not know that. I'm sure you've watched everything, but like 100%. Like I always just like when I look at your work, I'm like, oh, here's some Western influences from this and from that. But yeah, that is so cool. Like, do you mind me asking like what kinds of anime you were into? Is it like stuff from the 80s, stuff from like the 90s? Like anime for me was like always something that was kind of taboo in the sense that it was like, hey, you want to see something crazy, and like somebody would show me like Ninja Scroll or like like the real or like people getting shot. It was just always this like very like, I don't know, it was just something like, oh whoa, that's something totally different, like that's like, wow, like they're really going wild with this stuff. It was always on VHS, like some grainy VHS, whatever.
You had to special order it. If you were connected and you knew what channels to go through, because we still had like a prehistoric internet, and you could only like do so much to get a hold of that stuff, where you had to like get a catalog or something, and get a VHS copy of Urotsuki Doji or something messed up like that. In my case, I was the part of the Toonami generation. I had already known, I was already like a big fan of stuff that just so happened to be anime. Like I remember when I was little, I used to watch a lot of those Nick Jr. shows that were dubbed in like Canada and then like syndicated it onto Nick Jr. because they, Nick, it was
take
Nick
out
was
all the
still, like,
aboots, like all the aboots, they would say, or
the
sorry.
Boots,
They're like, we
You
gotta
hear
get
that
rid
a
of
lot in
those.
the Beetlejuice cartoon. Oh, what are you talking about, Lydia?
You just spoke to my heart, man. That cartoon in particular. Oh my gosh, Nelvana
so
or
good.
whatever that company was.
Nelvana, yeah.
I mean, seriously, what a brilliant show.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I remember watching Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics, Maya the Bee, the Little Bits, and the little koala, which is Kawada Boy Koki in Japanese.
Okay.
And that's like one of my favorites. And it was about anthropomorphic talking animals, and there was a lot of those in Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics too, and those were all anime technically. And then fast forward to I was in like 7th grade, and Toonami was brand new, and they were showing like Sailor Moon and stuff like that. Wow. And then they this feels like this pivotal moment in history for my whole generation and generations to come. They aired Dragon Ball Z.
Whoa.
And, yeah. And when I first saw that, it absolutely changed everything of what I felt about animation. Like, these guys fighting at like supersonic speed and shooting laser beams out of their hands, and just like fighting aliens that look like humans, but they're not. They're monkeys, but they're also kind of it's and there's the world building and the characters, and it just blew my mind at what a cartoon could be.
Wow.
And it's just like, it's so freaking cool. And I remember my favorite movie of all time is actually a Ghibli movie. It's Princess Mononoke.
Wow.
It wasn't until I saw that in high school. I was still like a big, anime fan. Like, I hadn't really kind of made the transition to Western style yet. But when I first saw that,
wow.
I think every person working in the industry nowadays had that aha moment where it's just like,
brilliant.
Pause. Like,
humans did this?
Holy cow.
A human being
like,
did this? I mean, just those little, like,
what?
Those little creatures that, like, got on that dude's arm, like, those little, like,
yeah.
And it turned into, like, I mean, I just can't even, like, fathom, like, the patience, like, I mean, it's just so far ahead, so far ahead of its time.
For real. I had just never seen anything like that before. Like,
great film.
Right. And funny enough, the way I saw it, I was staying over my aunt's house,
mm-hmm.
and I was sleeping in like the downstairs bedroom, and there was a television down there, and this was before like the complete transition to digital, so
okay.
You still had like scrambled channels with the not so great stuff on it. And I remember I didn't know what to do with myself, so I was awake in the middle of the night, 3:00 in the morning, and I'm just like, I wonder if this TV works. So I was flipping channels, and it was all static. I'm like, why is there even a TV down here?
It's to hook up their N64. That's all it was for.
Yeah, it's for like.
It's for Smash Bros.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been a great room for Smash Bros. And I heard this audio on this one channel that sound, like you can tell kind of the difference with the audio of a live action show versus animation. It's a little bit more. And I could kind of get a glimpse of what I was looking at, and it's like, oh, that looks like a cartoon. And I heard this voice acting on it, and it's just like, my name is Ashitaka, and I'm just like, what is that? and it was casting a spell on me. I'm like, what is that? And I just kind of watched it in this scramble for a while. I'm like, what is that? So I went upstairs where there was better reception, and then they had satellite, so thankfully they had reception to Anime Network. And I switched to the channel, and I'm like, whoa, this is beautiful. I was looking at the backgrounds, and then I looked at because you could early digital, like, and it said Princess Mononoke. I'm like, oh, I remember seeing the trailer for this. This is okay. And I just kind of sat, and everyone in this house is asleep. There was like 8, 10 people in the house, and they're all asleep snoring. And I'm just upstairs in this living room, just glued to this TV. And
wow.
And I'm watching this, and I can't even believe what I'm looking at. Like, the animation style, like that mix of CGI, like, with 2D, which I learned later over it, with all those worms and all those like gross gooey stuff. Like, I like calling it Ghibli goo. I see it in a lot of Ghibli movies.
That is insane.
cut to the credits. My grandma's awake, and my aunt's, making breakfast, and I am sitting there on the couch, catatonic, like,
wow.
um,
So they broke Andy. Andy's broke.
Something snapped. And my grandma's like, "Are you okay? What are you?" And I am wandering, like, for the rest of the day. I am wandering around my aunt's house, unable to know what to do with myself. I like it. I wish, like, this experience on everybody, because it's just like the aha. Like, I have to do this as a career. That is the most incredible thing I have ever seen in my life. And to this day, I go see it in theaters, and I cannot watch it without breaking down. Like, it's so. Yeah.
Here in Texas, we have Cinemarks. I used to be more of an AMC guy in California, but out here we have Cinemarks, and they all have the Studio Ghibli marathons. And
nice.
I go and watch them alone because my wife hates movies. She hates, not movies in general, she hates the movies, like the actual theater, and I'm a huge theater guy.
Yeah.
So I'll go and, like, watch them alone, and my daughter, she's almost going to be 3 this year. So I'm slowly getting her to go with me to movies, so, like, she can be my little movie buddy now. She's my drawing buddy too, by the way. Like, anytime I'm
that's great.
working on stuff on my Cintiq, she's got to sit right in my lap and grab my, my stylus and just start doing what Daddy does, which I just adore. But yeah, anytime they're playing, like, I always, like, when I walk in, I always look to the right, because there's just this little section of all they call them, like, the art house, little movies, whatever. But to me, I mean, they're just so powerful, they're just so polarizing, like you said, they absolutely stop you in your tracks, and you're just like, I want to do this. Like, I want to be part of this feeling, I want to do this. It just sweeps you up. And I think it's actually kind of a beautiful thing too, because not only are you pursuing a dream or pursuing something, you're being affected profoundly by something. I have a lot of friends that I grew up with, and they're like, nothing really spoke to me. They're like, I repair cars, like, it's what I do, like, it's just, life is life, but that magic, I think it's so wonderful that, we can still be affected by that magic, at any point in our life, and get swallowed up in it, and then be lucky enough to actually reflect it onto the page, because I'm sure, like, there's kids out there, probably listening right now, who've grown up on your stuff, and they're like, dude, that was the moment I saw, like, Magiswords, or, like, any one of these and, like, that was it for me, you know what I mean? So it's kind of beautiful to see, like, how, things come full circle, and so you're affected by that. You start going down that path. You're now at the School of Visual Arts, and you're going for what, another degree on top of your associates? Like, are you going for, like, a bachelor's or a master's or something?
So, I had my associates from Brookdale, and once you do 4 years, like, once you complete 4 years at this art school, you get your bachelor's. So I was going for my bachelor's.
Okay,
and,
got it.
Yeah, this experience was unlike any I've had before, because this is like, okay, now you're in the big city. Now you're, you got to navigate this whole new environment with all these new, faces and everything. And I was down a clown, man. I'm just like, it's an like, I just have this adventurous spirit, and I still do, and it's just like, let's see what this has to offer. Maybe this will kind of, because I still felt really directionless. I wasn't as kind of nerdy about animation yet. I wasn't, because I just have so many interests. I can't really stick with one. But this one, people left and right were just begging me to pursue this. And after seeing Prince of Mononoke and just a lot of the animated stuff that had an impact on me. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not super nerdy about animation yet, but let's see where this takes me. And I ended up making a whole bunch of friends there. Met a bunch of really cool teachers. I got to sit down and animate on paper and learn how to do that.
Whoa!
And I'm like, yeah,
like the actual.
We all had our own little light tables.
Like a drawing in each finger, like rolling your drawings, and doing some a rubber band, on one of the pegs.
I remember I had like a whole bag of just like the old kind of like animation tools, and it was really a mixed bag when I went, because one of the things that I learned about other people there is that like not everybody who goes to art school are there because they know they want to do that.
Really?
One of my teachers that I met there, a good friend and mentor, his name's Richard Gorey, did not pull any punches when he was kind of, giving his advice and wisdom. He's like, I got to tell you guys something. That thing you're thinking about doing, right now, like, you're probably going to be doing something different. Most like 90% chance.
Oh, whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just like, oh. And he showed us that movie Dream On Little Dreamer, about how like a lot of those Florida animators really had nowhere to go after they closed up shop because Disney saw what DreamWorks was doing, and they're like, oh, we got to do that now. And these people, you think about these people who pursued this craft like for most of their life, drawing and animating and telling stories, and all of a sudden, and these guys got kids and mortgages and
definitely
and car payments to make, and then and they're getting paid, I guess, just enough, and then suddenly the rug gets pulled out under and it was a lot of just kind of like, this is
sounds like today.
Kids, this is what you're getting into.
It sounds like 2025, 26.
yeah,
right.
But I was stubborn. I'm like, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. I mean, I like playing in my bands. I like playing guitar. I like, but it's not making me any money.
Yeah.
I gotta do something. I gotta make my family happy. I gotta make me happy. I want people to take me seriously.
Wow.
So I stuck with it until the very end, and I remember I did my whole thesis film. Everybody at the end of your 4 years, you take everything you learned, and then you put together a thesis film. And I absolutely killed myself.
Wow.
Over this. I did it all on paper. I did all the music for it. I voice acted in it.
Wow.
It was so ambitious, and it was this really hard lesson that I implore any new person to animation: time management. I cannot, and like, I get it. Like, you want to do everything, you want to make your own cartoon because you're really inspired. That hold on to that, but oh my gosh. Like 9 months is so much shorter than you think it is.
Right.
I have bad dreams that I'm not done with my thesis film. Still, to
Whoa.
this day.
So you got some PTSD then from that experience.
Yeah. Long story short, I didn't make the deadline, but they had mercy on me because they saw how hard I was working on it. And I was part of a group of people who didn't finish on time, and we were sleepless, powered by caffeine, and overnighting in this little room, and we're all miserable and just like, why did we do this to ourselves? And a couple of those people are working out here now, and like,
see, that's still
friends with
wow.
Yeah, well, there was this whole group at SVA that were a class above me. A huge chunk of those guys and girls moved out here, and we still stay in contact. We still meet up, and it's like I never left. It's wonderful. It's so great to have a community like that. But
and especially like trial by fire, right? Where you guys like shared this pain together, and didn't even realize that was just the beginning. Like there'd be many more painful nights. Trying to work toward deadlines.
Yeah. Hindsight is 20 billion 20. It's if I just spent a little bit more time, practicing Flash. It was still called Flash at that point.
Whoa.
Before it became it was still called Flash.
What an absolute! I again, like I said, to this day, people speak so much about Flash and like what Flash was. Again, such a polarizing thing. I think it's Animate now. I think Adobe owns it, whatever. But I don't know if it's the same anymore. I wasn't like huge with it, but I definitely knew a lot of coworkers and people that used it religiously. And I think another place called Newgrounds was like a really sort of underground sort of, like what DeviantArt was for art, Newgrounds was for animation, and like lots of kids doing, fun little Flash cartoons and stuff.
All the Ego Raptors and people like that, got their start on there. I remember he was one of the first animators that I saw on there, and I'm like, this guy is funny. He draws funny. He animates funny. Right. I'm like, how do I capture that? And now he plays video games.
So yeah, I mean,
it's crazy how where life takes you, but I remember when he first followed me on Twitter, when I was still on Twitter, it was like, it blew my mind because I drew a couple funny shark expressions and he liked it. I was like, wow. I don't get starstruck easily, but sometimes,
sometimes it just hits you. Can I ask you about the, so you make the trip to CTN, Mom's on board, or she's not on board with this? Is she like, you better go, or is she just like, hey, like, make sure you come back, or?
This was when, so after I graduated, I killed myself over making this nearly 5-minute film, all on paper, scanning every single drawing, coloring every single drawing, just got a couple of helpers, bless them, that's all out of the way. I graduate. I get my diploma because I took mercy on me. It's just like, nice. And what are you gonna do now? I had this person scout me afterwards, and it ended up going nowhere. There was this little studio over by the Mark Echo building in New York who needed some storyboard revisionists or something, and then they just kind of ghosted me. Like they offered me a gig, and I went on an interview, and it was so exciting. And
I remember that.
Oh yeah. The only gig in town was Titmouse East, and they were still on Canal and Hudson Street. Ooh, and I remember a teacher and friend of mine helped me get an internship there for a little bit, and it was only for like a couple months, and it really didn't go anywhere. I was just doing cleanup on Super Jail season 2.
Oh, cool.
But it was, and it was weird because like they had me come in on Tuesdays, but it was on a day where not a whole lot was being done. So a lot of people were just kind of busy on their stuff, and there wasn't really a lot to hand out to the interns, unpaid, by the way.
Right, I was gonna say, yeah.
I figured I was in school, so I would just kind of count it as school as well. And then I remember I came back and I tried to take a test for season 3, and I ended up not getting it. And a friend of mine did instead, and I ended up doing more than they did, in the time they gave us.
Oh my gosh.
And I still don't know why I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't do any faux pas. I didn't show up late. I was dressed as nice as possible. I was still dressing like real vintage and kind of smart back then. And
a lot of people don't know this. You would show up to work like legit, like out of the 1940s. Like you would have like like an actual like blazer. You'd have like a tie. You'd have like, I mean, you look like you had just stepped out of like Disney from like, 1940 or 41, and just this total dapper look. And I'm like, wow, like, and you're always early, like you really kind of embrace that kind of boomer era of like absolutely like, you go to work, you wear your suit, you wear your tie, like it's a whole, and the rest of us are in like t-shirts and hoodies and, completely slacker. But I always like admired that about you. You always
thank you.
Dressed very, very well, carried yourself, and and also too, anyone who knows you, I mean, you're very tall too. So I mean, like, you are like towering over everybody, and so you're quite a presence, as well. But so that kind of fizzles out. Are you doing commissions at this point on DeviantArt? Like, are you making any money? Giving people art or commissions or anything of that nature, or are you just like living off of like regular work or something like that?
So there was kind of a catalyst for a lot of how I ended up where I'm at right now. So we're still friends, was like blood brothers to this day. But like we I remember he is actually she now because she transitioned. But like I remember at the time she asked me, "So you graduated? What are you doing now?" And this was a friend that I made at Brookdale, and we just kind of stayed in contact. And I'm like, I don't know. I tried, getting into Titmouse. I tried getting into that other little place and getting that revisionist gig, but they all just kind of fell through. I still feel real inexperienced because I didn't practice any software. I just animated on paper for 9 months and feel like I wasted a lot of time.
Oh, geez.
So she's like, so you're doing commissions and stuff, right? And I'm like, no. And she's like, what do you mean you're not doing commissions? Like, are you out of your mind? Like, what are you doing? Get on. And so I got a bollocking from my friend, and she's just like, get on this website, commonly known as Fur Affinity nowadays, because I was drawing a lot of like cartoon animals and stuff, and she figured that's like the best course of action. Get on there and start posting your work, and you're going to get commissions. I'm going to show you how to use PayPal, and it just and I'm like, okay, okay. And I was so it was a lot of just kind of like that, that neurodivergence, man. Like it's just that task initiation difficulty I've had with a lot of things. I've had to get coached from a lot of my like most valued friends.
That's really good.
And yeah, it's keep your friends close, guys. Yeah. They are your lifeline. And so I start doing that, and I meet Richard online, and I start getting commissions, and I'm like, wow, it's real. I could do it. And I start learning, how to make money through my art and everything, and that starts becoming second nature. And then I start talking to Richard, and it's like, oh, it's that guy with that amazing cartoon, zippy, like style off of DeviantArt. How does that guy draw like this? I don't get it. Like, and I would spend nights just copying his drawings.
He's a beast, man. He is a beast.
Yeah, like he still is, and it's just how does he? I was like, how does he do it? And I started drawing GIFs for him and everything. I was just like, man, I wish I could hang with this dude in real life. And I was working this construction job with my stepdad, and just, sun beating on me, and just kind of waiting for that, text message. Oh, is Richard going to talk to me today? Like, and am I gonna make friends with people? And you know, he started telling me, it's like, oh yeah, I work at a place called like Cosmic Toast, you know, and I'm like, Cosmic, wow, what is that?
Interesting.
And
Woo, what a chapter! What a chapter that's coming right now.
So I often say, since you know, my friend, when she gave me that very valuable advice, you know, like really gonna, you know, start somewhere, even if it's, you know, drawing stuff for the furry fandom and everything. It's a great first kind of like, I recommend it to a lot of people, honestly. Like if you're kind of lost, you know, there is constant demand in the furry fandom for people who need stuff done, because that's a fandom where people come from all walks of life, like all fandoms, honestly. You know, you got your computer programmers and your mechanics and your, you know, people who work in the medical field. It's all, and don't draw. They don't, you know, really do anything. So they, you know, they have people like us make their dreams come true, and they value it so much, and the appreciation they show is amazing.
Would you say a lot of like those people are now on Twitch? Like, I don't know. I recently kind of like gotten into a little bit of the Twitch community, and like just seeing like, you know, how people can, you know, like meet an artist they love and say, hey, like I've always wanted to see a character in this scenario, or, you know, with this other character, and like, you know, they can literally do something made to order, you know, like as easy as like going to McDonald's and like, you know, ordering a meal. You can order up your favorite characters and, you know, have it done by hand on paper, you know, and have this beautiful keepsake that you can put on your wall. And I think of it too. It's such a conversation starter when someone comes over your house and like, what is that? You know, like, oh, I had that made, and blah, 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 you know? So, I mean, it's a beautiful thing to see, you know, how people can interact with, you know, their favorite, you know, artists, and still get like beautiful, beautiful stuff done from any era, you know, which is so, so wild. And so Richard's at Cosmic Toast. Have you moved at this point yet, or is he still talking you into moving? Because I remember there was like a lot of like pushback, because I remember I was friends with him at the time, or I think we were coworkers, and he just kept telling me there's this Andy guy, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be annoying. I don't want another Andy. Like, gosh, that's gonna be like, you know. But he just kept talking about you and saying like, you know, you have to see his work. You know, I mean, he's really good. I remember there was like a lizard type character you were drawing a lot, and you know, like the sharp dressed lizard, I think might be his name. I'm forgive me if you know, I'm butchering that, but I was like, yeah, this dude can draw, man. This guy's really good. You know, like what's gonna happen? He's like, well, I'm trying to like convince him to move out here, and you know, like he's not going for it. And I'm just like, well, you know, like you just got to give people, you know, their time and, you know, whatever. But I remember, it was like a little bit of like a, you know, kind of a back and forth to really kind of convince you to maybe come out and give it a shot or something. Because I mean, how scary is that? You know, you're literally like going, I don't know if you'd ever visited California before, or if that was your first time coming to California. Had you ever been to California before?
So it was the first time I had gone was when they invited me to come stay a little bit. For that CTN trip. So I got like a taste of it. It was just like, oh, like, yeah, it's cool out here. It's warm, it's sunny, it's dry. It's like, wow, because back east, you know, we have weather.
Oh yeah, Texas too, by the way. Humidity, wow.
Yeah,
I'm humbled. I'm humbled.
Yeah, Texas was so hot the last time I was there. I thought it was hot down here, but
no.
But yeah, like so I went back, and I still needed a way to make money, and I was doing summer jobs and stuff, and I was working as a food delivery guy at Six Flags at the time. I reminisce and remember that as the best non-art job I've ever had.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was just like, I liked the people I was working with. It wasn't really difficult. You know, you were moving around and just delivering ice cream to different booths and everything. And, you got to go on roller coasters for free. I can't really.
What is that? Come on.
Yeah. I remember that because it was Trenton, New Jersey, or Jackson. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I was living in Jackson, so it was just a 10-minute car drive. Imagine that. And so I remember they gave us just as a employee appreciation day, they gave us a free day to ride the tallest, fastest roller coaster in America, which just so happened to be in New Jersey. And I remember going on this like probably 12, 13, 15 times.
Wow.
And like this coaster was no joke. It's gone now, rest in peace. Like
it's not Goliath, is
it? It was
I'm trying to remember like
Goliath.
In California, we had something called Goliath, which claimed to be the biggest of the big, but I don't even know if that is the case. But
I love Goliath. I love big Magnum like coasters. The one at Great Adventure in New Jersey was called Nitro, and
okay.
That
sounds safe.
Exactly,
that sounds really safe.
Yeah. Like an 80 mile per hour coaster. Like the drop on it is just but this one, it shoots you off at 120 miles an hour. You go vertical and you twist, and then you come back down, and then you go over like a big hump, and then you're done. And it's just, you wait online 3 hours, and then it's done in a minute.
Oh my God.
But I went on this thing like so many times that day, and it left a harness-shaped bruise on my body.
Oh my God.
I'm like, where'd that? But after that, through an employee there, they said, "Oh, there's an Amazon warehouse opening 5 minutes from here in Robbinsville."
Oh, got it.
And I applied there, and it was one of those seasonal jobs where if you applied, you got it.
So was that it? You didn't want to leave the job to come to California? Like, I remember there was something, and you were like already committed to something, and Richard was like so pissed that like you weren't just like coming to California, and but I was like you were like, it was something. It might have been that Amazon job. I think like you were like trying to like weigh whether or not like coming to California was like the right thing to do versus you just got this Amazon job. I think it might have been that, and it was like really pissing Richard off because he like was like, he needs to be out here. He needs to be like, doing this. And which is interesting about Richard, Richard like finds talent, or, talent finds him. And then he's very much a person that's going to try and like get you to your goal, like shove you even before you're ready, right to where you need to be. But I think again, like those friends are so far and few between, like friends that actually like want to see you do well, like a lot of times, like, people don't want that. People don't want you to like do better than they're doing or something, and like at times, it can stress friendships and, well, why are you leaving? Like you don't like it here. What do they got over there that we don't have here? But there's seasons in your life that, need to happen. And sometimes they're going to happen, in a nice and kind of like, good way. Or sometimes it's going to be like, literally tearing yourself out of your routine and a cushy job. And, did you drive, by the way, or did you fly to California? Because I don't know. I always hear
I flew.
Oh, okay. Because I hear I've heard the story too. Like, I packed up my beat up whatever, and put all everything I had in there and just drove out cross country. Excuse me. But that's good. I hate driving far too, so I would have flown as well.
I ended up selling my car to my brother before I left. I remember like it took 2 times to be like, "Mom, I got to do this," because I was still living. I didn't really have a whole lot of money, so like when you still live at home with your parents, you're still kind of like, at their mercy. And I remember the first time I told my mom I wanted to bail and move west, she got really upset, and no one likes making their mom cry. Like,
I'm so sorry, man.
Yeah, so like there was a little bit, I don't mean it in a mean way, but there was a little bit of emotional manipulation happening, just kind of slowing my decision to move out west down. It's like, I don't know, like I don't want to, I don't want to leave people, like I don't want to leave, that kind of thing behind. So the catalyst was, I had working at Amazon was a nightmare. Every stereotype about that job, it's true. I'm here to confirm it right now. It's all true.
Wow.
They don't let you pee. But I remember I was talking with someone. We were just making small talk as we were working, and they separated us like we were in school. It's like, you guys are talking too much. I'm like,
wow.
Man.
It was very serious there. Like, you get your job done, you keep your mouth shut. No music, I'm guessing. You can't have anything playing in your headphones or anything. And
no headphones, no nothing. You just gotta be a little soldier. And
soul
I
crushing
remember
almost, right?
It was soul crushing. And without going too into it, they literally put me and others in positions to fail because your job performance was based on numbers. And we were dismantling big cardboard boxes, and they would keep putting me at the end, and people would cherry pick. So you would be left with all the boxes that take longer to, dismantle and get on the carts. So they'd be like, "Why are your numbers down? Why are your numbers down?" And every day I'd come in, they'd give me a warning. Some guy would come up with a stupid little clipboard and be like, "Hey, are you such and such?" And yeah. And
jeez.
And one day they did it to me twice, and I was in one day, and it's just like, "Hey man, this is your final warning. You got to get your numbers up." And they would they were jerking you around. They would have you do other things around the facility, you got to we need somebody to man the elevator. It's just like, well, I got to practice on this line. No, you got to man the elevator today.
Wow.
And then, I didn't even get on the line that day, and I had this guy with a clipper. Why are your numbers low? I'm like, dude, I didn't even work the line today. What do you want? And so I lost my temper, and during lunch, I marched down to HR. I'm just like, hey guys, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I'd ever quit a job.
Wow.
It was just, and then the dude with the clipboard, he's like, hey, where are you going? I'm like, I'm home. and
anywhere but here.
Yeah. And in the back of my mind the whole time, where this guy's like, no, we can help, coach you through your whatever barriers are, keeping your, I'm like, blow it out your whatever, man. And
wow.
And
now you're supportive after all that,
right? And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you got to move out west, dude. This is it.
Wow.
This is it. So the next day, I came home and I'm like, Mom, I quit. And she's like, okay. And
so
I'm like, I'm moving out west. And she's like, okay. And
whoa. It's almost a scene out of a movie, you know what I mean? It's just wow.
It felt cinematic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I moved in with the guys at in Burbank. And what you were saying earlier, what ended up happening is we were kind of bending the rules a little bit. I met you for the first time. I met a whole bunch of people first time.
The other Andy.
But,
the rivalry had begun. No kidding.
Another Andy? Who is she?
And you had great hair too. I was like, oh gosh, and he's got great hair.
Oh,
damn him.
And so we ended up you how did it go? You said you had if you recommend someone to move into that area.
Oh well, Richard had called me in one of his usual poor guy. If you know Richard, if something really stressful is happening, he just it hits him hard, so he called me. I want to say almost in tears, poor guy. And he's like, we're getting kicked out or, getting evicted because, there's too many people here. To be fair, I want to say it was like about 5 to 6 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, and
it was not great.
I have no idea where you slept because I know that living room was already spoken for. So, you must have been on the balcony or something. But yeah, so I had just moved to Canyon Country, and like literally the places were just like, hang out, do whatever. Like management could care less, as long as like parking was like not being, messed with. I calmed Richard down and I said, hey, like just bring the guys, come to Canyon Country, which is, for those who don't know, it's in the valley, close to another Six Flags. But out in California, we know Six Flags as Magic Mountain. Everywhere else, there's Six Flags, whichever. But so around that point, like, I think I had either finished Twinkle Toes, the movie, and then I was being moved on to a smaller pitch idea or something. And I remember like they like were looking for like some boards or something. And I think up until that point, you were strictly a character guy. And I think you were doing like maybe some revision for me. I can't remember, something of that nature. But I remember thinking like, yeah, like we got to get this guy doing something, because I was just like, I think you were still doing commissions and that sort of stuff. And I was just like, this guy's way too talented to just be like, left with nothing to do. So I remember, yeah, you like immediately jumped on stuff. You were like super on it. And I want to say like you got hired not too long after that.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I remember you were helping me out with a little bit of that like freelance. I think we were working on something for like wrestling or something. And like I remember making the transition from kind of like working on my own schedule to like hey, we have a deadline, dude. Like, dude, come on. And me just kind of like, just kind of really like making that transition period from just kind of like, working on my own schedules. It's like, okay, there's people with, these aren't just your friends in, out of state. These are clients. And I'm like, and it, it put a nice, hot coal under my rear end, that I needed. So thank you.
Yeah, it was...
yeah. And, I forgot who recommended me, to Cosmic, cause, they said they were, working on some new thing. And I think, yeah, it was two of the guys I was living with who got work doing, like backgrounds. Yeah. And they recommended me, cause I knew After Effects, and there was this,
that's right.
rumor. Like there was this rumor, when I was still in school. It's just like, hey, no one knows After Effects. We're like one of the only places teaching After Effects. Like back when I was still in school, that's how you're gonna get your first gig. And I'm like, yeah. And I hated After Effects. Like I hated looking at the interface, putting my pieces together on my little MacBook Pro, and like, but I still knew it. And
whoa.
So because I knew After Effects, they brought me in, and they're just like, yeah, you want to just try a couple of things? And they're like, all right, we'll hold on to it. I'm like, yes. And so that ended up being my first gig. I was doing some After Effects for them, and then two guys who were working there were working on a sizzle pitch for something. And
that's right.
And they were working with this guy who was the showrunner who worked in TV. I don't even remember I think his name was Anthony or something.
Yeah.
But like he was, he came from like a live action kind of like CSI kind of forensic procedural, like police procedural, drama TV background. And it was going to be this hybrid of a animated feature with a video game, just something.
Right.
Yeah. And they were looking for animators, and my background is animation, like 2D animation.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, hanging out and talking with these guys. I'm like, hey, can I show you my Tumblr? And they're like, yeah. And I showed them some of the animation that I've been doing, and they're like, oh, you want to jump on this after you're done with this? And I'm like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And eventually the other two guys I was working with, that were working there with me, jumped on it as well. And So it was this
Off to
thing
the
called
races.
Arion.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, Arion. Whoa.
Yeah.
I think we
It was
affectionately called it the horse movie or
the
something.
horse movie. Yeah.
The horse
So like
project.
it was crazy because like these guys were super cool to work with. They were really into like anime and stuff, and it was cool to just kind
Wow.
of like be working with my friends. I started getting friendly with like the rest of the guys in the studio. Like I still keep in touch with them. Like we get together
Oh,
for
that's
pizza
so
every now and
good.
then.
Wow.
Yeah, like I love those guys. So like we were working on this horse thing for a while, and they were bringing on like new animators and everything, and like it was the first time I'd ever used Toon Boom. Because
Oh, whoa.
yeah, they came to me and they're just like, hey, we got this like one license on this one computer. Do you want to try it? And I'm like, oh yeah, I heard of that
Sure.
in school. So I tried it, and I remember seeing how big the buttons on the toolbar were. I'm like, this looks like a preschool. I'm like, are you serious? And it was super easy to
Wow.
learn, just the basics and stuff. It's like this. I think this was before like the node view and like all the the
Oh,
sophistication that
okay.
it had.
Damn, yeah. This is
I think it had it, but like it wasn't as Anyway, like
so this is
I
like
was doing 2D
2016
animation.
or this is like 2014 or something. I think it's like
It
2014,
was around
15ish.
2015 through 2016, I believe.
And Richard was gone. I think I was gone. We all had like
Yeah.
our projects had ended. We'd all like went on to other studios, and I think at that time too, the studio itself, Cosmic, was being purchased by like another company and being moved to Sherman Oaks, which
Mm,
that sort of becoming I don't know. I guess you can sort of think of it like kind of a dark period, which
yeah.
unfortunately, you actually got to experience, which I like telling this or having this story told because there's a lot of
Yes.
artists coming out of school and animators who like don't know that these kind of things can still happen. But
Yes.
can you talk a little bit about like so you're working for Cosmic Toast, the Burbank
Mhm.
studio. It's then bought by another company, which then moves it to Sherman Oaks, and I think you're still on Arion. But at this point, are you still getting a paycheck, or are you like what's happening at that time once you get to Sherman Oaks?
So yeah, this was like a very small non-union studio that was working on different stuff. They were working for like a handful of different clients. Like I think Hasbro was one of them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Skechers, yeah,
hmm
and Twinkle Toes was one of their things, right? Like
That was I
that
was on that
Skechers.
one. I think me and Richard.
Yeah.
I think me and Richard were on that one together. Twinkle Toes.
hmm
Um,
I
yeah,
think he
that's
was
right.
working
Yeah.
on one called like Lala Loopsy or something, and it was about
Oh yeah.
like rag dolls, some yeah, and yeah, like every time I came in, I saw someone working on something different. It was pretty cool. But what ended up happening is like it felt really cool for a while. It's like wow, I just met this melting pot of artists, and we're all just kind of building something up from like almost nothing. And
Right.
like they were having to do, it's like I was living my dream early. It's just like, oh, I'm designing characters and now I'm animating them. This is crazy because they had me do a couple design passes
Wow.
um, on some of the characters. I'm like, wow, this is great. And it was fun to talk about for a while. I mean, like it wasn't. There were aspects of the project that were cool. And there were other aspects that weren't so cool, like some kind of clumsy, uh, kind of social commentary made in it, just very
Oh,
kind of
gee.
poor, uh,
Didn't age
yeah,
well.
did not age well. Like it's like whose idea was this? And
Whoa.
yeah, some problematic stuff that was just kind of like, oh boy. But I'm like,
Oh,
hey man, it's a job, just suck it up. Like
yeah.
this will lead to other things. Um, and then what ended up happening was the paychecks started slowing down. And I think we were getting paid like bi-weekly. I don't remember quite yet, but
I think it was bi-weekly because I remember when I left, it started weekly and then it started going to bi-weekly because I think like I was part of the previous two eras before you, and the middle era, I think, was like the most stable. And then once it got to your era and they got sold, then that became like kind of the more like unstable era.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but which was sad because I think that group was one of the most talented of the three eras. You know, that last one had some of the, I want to say some pretty big names in it, yourself included, that did go on to, you know, all the majors. So it was interesting. Like, you know, like a lot of people, when they come out of school, you get to one of these boutique shops, which is basically doing a lot of work for a lot of different places. Subcontracting is pretty much the way things go. So if you watch something on Disney streaming, it's most likely being done at another studio, not Disney itself, but they're hiring out through Titmouse, through Bento, through, you know, one of these other places. But it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't matter because, you know, any of these other ancillary places, it's still top level talent. You know, it's not like you're getting a lesser talent, you know, or anything. But so the paycheck starts slowing down. You know, at this point, you know, this is your only source of income, or are you still doing commissions or anything on the side? Or
I made it my one source of income.
Okay.
I put commissions down for a little bit, much to the disappointment of people waiting to get something from me, and it's super flattering and everything. But and you know, I didn't want to have like an ego about it because like, hey, I'm hitting the big time there, fellas. I gotta leave you behind. No, like I kept in contact with all my friends who, you know, were commissioning me and everything. But
Nice.
It got to the point where it went from them slowing down to just we're not getting paid at all. And
Oh my gosh.
and they could never give us a straight answer about why. It was always like, oh, the bank is being like weird or something, and
Wow.
it was just like, and the thing that I took the most from this, aside from just like, oh, you know, buyer beware, kind of like, you know, just be aware,
Right.
everyone out there listening, like this can happen, is the solidarity of all the people working there. Whenever, you know, one of the higher ups would come in and just kind of like be like, hey, you know, we're still having trouble with the bank, and you know, we're gonna have to wait. People would just nod and get back to work. No one would complain. No one would be like, what are you talking? You know, no one would
Wow.
get angry. And these are people with kids and mortgages and carpet, you know, and I was just living on my own with, you know, college debt, and that's it. And,
Right.
and then, yeah, what ended up happening was like the person that ended up merging with the company, was, I forget what he was like. He was like using all of that money to like pay for his kids' vacations or something, who are also working there. They were getting like, yeah, and he was just doing weird stuff with the money, and
Wow.
and it was this whole thing like that.
So clients were still paying, money was coming in, but the money was being diverted to like other things that he wanted to do with the money other than pay you guys, which, you know, and this wasn't like, you know, post-COVID where everybody worked from home and they can just, you know, email stuff. You guys were physically getting in a car, getting gas money, driving across town, and gas is expensive in California, if any of you guys don't know. You know, paying for your own lunch, you know, like paying your rent, you know, you got, you know, student stuff, you know, student debt and all that. So all those things are still happening, but no paycheck. You guys are just basically, you know, coming in. And I heard at the height of it, it got pretty weird where people just stopped working in a sense, or they're just like, well, I'm not getting paid. I'm just going to like work on my own stuff, you know?
Yeah. It literally got to that point, and it was so surreal. We didn't know what was happening yet. You know, like we didn't know that he was just kind of doing all this weird stuff with our money. Like, I don't know if he had like debts to pay off or something. Cause like, as it turns out, this dude had a history. for being a shyster in the past.
Yikes.
And I don't know what they were thinking, joining forces with this guy. But so yeah, you're right. What ended up happening was some of us just went home. We just didn't work. And the one person who was the head of Cosmitos at the time, she was fine with it. She didn't want to make us work for nothing.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit, at least, of compassion and solidarity, even though the situation was inexcusable and awful. Like, no one should have to deal with this. And then we just ended up we just stopped going in, and the projects just kind of, were in limbo. And then we started learning more about what this guy was doing, and we were like, what? And
did it break on Cartoon Brew or something? I heard something like there was a story written, and it was pretty. It was pretty scathing. It was a very, very much a very, very sad thing. To see like I said, people that I knew. Like I said, I mean, I was there. I didn't, like I said, I wasn't part of the people that didn't get paid, but you guys are my friends, extended family, and it hurt me, to read, what I was reading, and it was pretty crazy. It's just like I said, it's a Netflix documentary, ready. One of these days, someone's gonna do that story, and it is gonna be the biggest thing Netflix has ever seen. But all this all this is happening, and like I said, what's going through your mind? Are you feeling okay, my career's over? Are you sort of down in the dumps? Are you feeling what's going through your mind as this is all crumbling?
Oh, so many things, honestly. There was a good amount of what have I done?
Right.
Trying to at the same time go how was I supposed to know this was going to happen?
Yeah.
But it was pretty bleak. I'm is this what the industry is now? Because it was still at the time where there was I feel like I'm a better person than I was back then, but there was a pretty high degree of cynicism about a lot of the stuff that was being made still. A lot of stuff felt pretty homogenous. That kind of ugly punk rock adult cartoon style was still kind of very dominant.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of the stuff that was getting made stateside. My passion was cartoons and Disney and stuff like that. And it just kind of felt like the industry wasn't really investing a lot in stuff like that. So it's just okay, I'm working on this weird, stupid horse thing. And that's the closest I can.
Yeah.
I felt to I feel valued. I feel like I'm a part of something here. I'm not just kind of making a product. It felt really bad. It felt like I hit a dead end.
Wow.
Because it went from networking and trying to foster this, this career, this adventure, this whole thing, getting into the animation industry, to now we're in this legal battle trying to get blood from a stone, just trying to get what's owed from us to this guy as soon as we found out that he was, a crook and basically embezzling money. It took a while to get a lot of those, checks of what was owed to us. I still don't think we got everything that was owed to us, and at a certain point we just had to kind of cut our losses, which is awful.
I heard that. You guys, are still owed money on, those things, which, oh, what idiots, because like I said, the fact that they're losing, that top tier talent, is just so crazy to think all of you guys immediately started. I say immediately, but how soon was it before you landed your next, gig, which I think was Cartoon Network. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So, yeah, so like, this is the part that, hasn't quite aged well, in terms of just, past, very recent revelations about, specific people in this. But this was around the time where I was still kind of directionless. I was still living with the guys in
Canyon Country.
Canyon Country, yeah. And like I remember, like almost every other night, we'd meet up, you, me, and the guys would meet up at the hot tub, and we'd tell you what's going on, and it's just like, yeah, it's just another. We didn't get paid this week, and you would listen to us, you would, and let us air out our grievances and everything, and you were just like, oh, don't give up hope, like we'll figure it out, and we did figure it out enough, I guess, like still not as much as I'd like. The dude got caught, and
wow,
I think he's still in jail. The last time I caught up with all those guys at all my cosmic friends. Yeah, apparently he's still doing time for it, because like I don't think we were the only ones he was swindling. The dude's just a dyed-in-the-wool crook, petty, shyster, two-timing, yada yada. Just
that's crazy.
Yeah. And I know Amit Aminati is like a polarizing figure. I'm pretty sure he stepped down, but
yeah, I think he did.
He kind of did that little expose on he used his platform to talk about this dude who kind of screwed us over, and the dude knows how to do his research, because he just went down this laundry list of things that this guy was also guilty of, and it was just like a buyer beware, and I really appreciated him for doing that. So again, like I understand why he's a polarizing figure, but ultimately it's just good. Like, yeah, you're looking good out for animators,
He gave you some justice, where a lot of times you hear stories that people just never get a dime, and or never even like you never even like the story never even gets told, because people are like either embarrassed by it or just like don't want to talk about it, because it's just like this, just this like not so great moment in their career, but it's important too, because like I said, there's always, the next generation coming up, and they're like, hey, I'm going to do whatever I can to get my first job, or, do whatever I can do to put my best foot forward. But, sometimes there can be people who are predatory to that and realize, hey, I can exploit, this talent. And it's so great, like I said, that you and a few other people have the courage to even talk about those things, because I really do feel like you can help so many people avoid, those type of situations. And there's no way you or anyone could have known, that was, I'd been in the industry for several years, and again, like I said, I hadn't really run into anything like that ever, even with the smaller boutique studios that would go under, but there was always usually a little bit of time that they'll tell you, hey, we lost funding, we're gonna go bankrupt, so start looking for work, something like that. But this seemed a little different. This was a little more like, they were finding ways to deceive the artists working there, which, like I said, talk about short-sighted. You just let go of like probably some of the top prospects, looking at it in like baseball terms, they let go of some of the top players, you had them all on your team, man. You had a World Series players, and you let them all go. But I think, again, the beauty of this story is like, you guys got a chance to go and work on the next level, the next generation of things at some of the best studios on the planet, like, can you talk a little bit about Cartoon Network and what that was like? And you got to actually, you work at the building, because like that building, unfortunately, is no longer standing or no longer, being used. But I got a chance to visit a few times, and that building was magical. And I've been to all of them, but that building in particular was so fun. and so exciting. Like I've never worked for Cartoon Network at that building. I almost worked at Atlanta, but every time I'd pass by that building in downtown Burbank, I'd always be so jealous of whoever's in those walls. I was like, oh, if I could just be in there, you know. Like, can you talk a little bit about the Cartoon Network era of your career?
Yeah, sure. At the time, an artist named Kyle Perosa was a friend of mine that I made through DeviantArt, and he had this like really radical, wacky style that was just instantly recognizable. Mm-hmm. And I remember when he followed me back, I was just like, oh wow, like this guy's got pilots and comics, and he's interested in my stuff, and and this was after I kind of got the wind knocked out of me. This was another experience I had before I got to Cartoon Network, where Richard actually introduced me to one of his directors when he was still working at Nick on a preschool show.
Oh, okay.
And his director, was just like, yeah, I'll talk to your friend, just look at what he's got. And I had this kind of like half portfolio, just this kind of pile of work. This was before I learned it's just like, hey, if you're looking for work, know what you want to do, have a portfolio ready with samples of what you want to do, not just this mix of things. So I showed him this guy.
I.e. character design, boards, yeah. like have a specific, like in animation, they don't like you to be a jack of all trades. They like you to kind of specialize, right? Like in sort of one area. I don't know if that's fair to say, but
Cosmic was just this kind of aberration because that was where like I got to wear multiple hats, literally and figuratively. But most of the time, they need to know where to put you and whether or not you're a good fit for it. Mm-hmm. So this guy's looking through all my stuff, and he's just like, yeah, this is pretty solid stuff, but I don't know, it's all kind of bland and uninteresting.
Oh, ouch.
And
thanks. Tell me what you really think.
It was both a relief and like a knife going straight through my chest. It was because it was a fear of mine. I think everyone kind of has that fear about their stuff, to a degree. It's just like, is my stuff really making an impact or not? Mm-hmm. And I'm mostly appreciative for him saying that, but it stunk. If that ever happens to any of you, life goes on. Yeah. You can pick yourself up and just, it's, and what he said afterwards, he's like, I don't want to discourage you, because you have talent and you have potential.
Nice.
Just really kind of work on varying up your style, just like, push things here and there, and just, I don't know where to put you because like there's all this different, and I'm just like, it's just like, just, but I lived to tell the tale. It's something you got to hear sometimes, but anyway, I was still kind of like very, my confidence was kind of in the toilet since that. It's just like, I just had this horrible experience at this little studio, getting money stolen from me. I feel like a sucker. My work's still not quite where it wants to be. And, I remember I tried, Kyle had this show that, got greenlit, a little while beforehand called Mighty Magiswords.
Right.
And, it's kind of nice little kind of callback to old adventure anime, kind of like Slayers a little bit,
Yeah.
And, mixed with a little video gamey kind of
comic. I love the show, by the way. That was a huge.
Yeah, it was a fun,
great show.
Yeah, it was funny. It was out there. I don't know if a lot of people got it. I did because like I just like weird comedy like that. It was very much his show. It was his vision. And he was a comedy musician. He's influenced by stuff like NST3K and like a lot of the comedy musicians like Weird Al and Judy Tenuta and a lot of the guys on like Fump. And I learned about a lot of that stuff through him and friends of his that he recruited onto the show. And so he got back to me after I took a storyboard test for him, and he's just like, "Hey, it's not quite there, but I tell you what, I can throw you on some freelance." And
nice.
And I'm like, "Great, oh, thanks." So he invited me to come in for an interview and gets onboarded onto a show. There was another person that was my partner that had just, it was their first Person Network gig, so they paired us up and we became fast friends.
Oh, nice.
And then we worked on an episode together, and it was a learning experience. It was, the first time I ever got notes from tech directors, the first time I ever, learned how, like, I remember some of the best advice I got on that show was trust the joke.
Wow.
It's and what that basically means is just like, hey, if you did something funny already, let it roll. You don't have to keep like milking it or unless it calls for it. But just like you don't have to explain yourself after you did it. It's like because I remember hearing this old adage. It's just like, comedy is like doing saying you're going to do a thing, doing the thing, and then show everybody you did it. And it's just like, okay. And I took that so literally. And so, I learned how to be funnier. I learned how to, it was basically like going to storyboard school, like, cause they were super patient with us. And,
wow. May I ask one quick question? Like the style of the show, was it like script based or was it like basically just like, premise based, storyboarding? Like, I don't quite remember what if it was either or what did you guys have scripts, or was it like just like an idea for an episode and you guys just ran with the idea?
Oh yeah. So it was actually outline based. So
okay.
Board. It was
Excuse
board
me, I
driven.
said premise. Sorry, I'm outlining.
Yeah.
I meant. Sorry.
I figured that was what you meant. But yeah, it was this particular show. Kyle really wanted to push the comedy. And, a lot of times with board-driven shows, there's a lot more wiggle room for the storyboard artist to kind of show their unique voice in, the writing department, dialogue, gags, and stuff like that. Whereas script is a little bit more rigid. Mm-hmm. They have the jokes figured out. They have the camera angles and stuff roughly figured out, because writers aren't board artists, you got to meet in the middle somewhere. But like this was board driven, and they really let us be creative, and
wow.
And they were honest about what was working, what wasn't working. I went, doing my first board pitch was so fun, like doing the voices and pointing at what we're doing. And we were so excited to show what we did because we had all these ideas for the show. Like we really wanted to push the emotional arcs of the characters. We really wanted to kind of give it a little depth, and it ended up being a real funny episode. And it was just like, wow, I got to work at Cartoon Network for the first time, and I made all these new friends. And I made this, like, everyone on the show at the time are still my friends to this day, and I've worked on other shows with them, and like we formed this little kind of brain trust, and it was some of the coolest people I know ever, like super talented.
I remember seeing crew party pictures like on Facebook or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, they parties, like their parties are like awesome, like huge props of the swords and stuff like that. Like I just thought that was like so great. You could see it was definitely a happy crew.
Mm-hmm.
And that like also, believe it or not, like it's kind of crazy. You went from one controversial figure to the next. Like, the show creator of that show, Kyle Carosa, had some, pretty dark stuff going on in his, I guess in his personal life. And did that lead to the cancellation of the show? Did that pretty much like end the show itself, or was the show itself like only meant to have a short run or something?
So, if I remember correctly, the show ran for like 2 seasons until, I think it was like canceled proper. They just didn't renew
okay.
it.
Got it.
And then yeah, because like the other thing that I found out about it, which I'm not really sure where I feel about it, was that what Kyle would do, which, early on, why I admired him so much, is that he trusted a lot of, green people, people who were, just kind of friends with him, who really want to get into animation. He would throw people bones and give them a chance, where a lot of times, there was a lot more scrutiny. He definitely saw talent in people, whereas like most other people, like if their stuff was a little rough around the edges, he would give people chances. But and sometimes, that would either make or break the show. I remember seeing some stuff come out later. It's just like, oh yeah, one of the biggest problems with the show is that all the people that they brought on were really inexperienced, and it created so many problems in the design department. They weren't addressing notes. They were making really, almost like mistakes in the boards, like jump cuts and breaking the 180. Really basic stuff that they teach you early on in school, not to do. Just in storyboard 101, and tangents everywhere. Just
maybe I thought I gave the show its charm, though. It made it so charming that
I agree. I do think there is a lot of rigidity in storyboards these days. Right. I know. Like one of the most popular examples of that is what happened with Steven Universe, which like the board artists kind of started taking the characters and running wild with them a little bit. And what I learned on stuff that I'd work on down the road is that when stuff is hard locked, when storyboards are hard locked and it goes to the overseas studios, that stuff is traced. They don't have any investment in how on model. They to a degree they do, but if say Peridot, one of the gem characters, was one of the examples of where people were just kind of almost memeing it. It's just like, look at Peridot when she's first introduced compared to what she looks like now after the board artists, had their way with her. And she became just kind of this little stuffed animal, like this little teddy bear creature. And she used to be very kind of svelte and lean. And they just kind of let the board artists really influence the models. And it just happens. Like there's so much in animation that needs to be tracked, and for like size relationships and scale, and it really kind of sparked a big debate online. Whether it's just like, hey, is this serving the show? Is this making it funnier? Is more is playing a little bit more fast and loose with designs? Does that feel better, or does that create problems? And it's kind of yes and no. What ends up happening is that, like, when stuff is off model and enough times, it starts just creating a lot of inconsistency, because layout is such a huge thing that you got to pay attention to as a board artist. And if characters are the wrong size, everything's going to be off. It's just going to create this ripple effect, and that's what was happening with a lot of these shows. And reading those testimonials from people posting anonymously about their experience working on Mighty Magiswords, it's just like, the QC was all over the place. It was just a big, giant mess, and lot, and it was because, and I hate saying this because everyone deserves at least one chance. If you have talent, just that's why I, had so much admiration for him in the beginning. One of the things that Kyle used to do was he used to have screenings down in the theater in the Cartoon Network building. The what do they call it? Like the big black one, the Death Star, I think they used to call it.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it was, so we were shacked up in that building just to clarify, the two boards that I ended up doing for Magiswords were freelance. So I would work on them at home and have my own Storyboard Pro license, and then we would go in for dailies. We would actually go to the studio and meet up, or we'd meet on Zoom or whatever. And that was that was my opportunity. It's like, oh, I get to be in the building. I ended up doing 2 more gigs for Magiswords. I did one other board with another member of the team, and then I did some character design stuff.
Oh, nice.
Like effects, enemies, special poses, and that was really fun to do.
So awesome.
Yeah, and I was just so grateful to Kyle for, really, because, your portfolio and your experience is everything. Your resume is everything. It's just like, that shows employers, it's like, is this guy, this girl, this day a good fit for the show? Is this, will their experience serve our vision? And by the time I was done doing stuff for Kyle, I had all these examples of stuff that I could show, and then that show got canceled. I was moving from place to place a lot. Some stuff ended up going down when I lived in Glendale for a little bit, and so this is another thing that could happen.
Yeah. Do tell.
So towards the end of when I was working at Cartoon Network, I was just kind of bouncing around. Like, I did this freelance gig for a little bit with this company called Octopi, and that was another storyboard gig where we were boarding in Flash.
Oh, right. Wow.
It was a show called Celebrity Animal Encounters.
Okay.
And it was basically one of those shows where they interview celebrities about stories they've had with a pet or a wild animal, and then it's these testimonials bookended with little animated segments to just kind of show what they're doing, and it was really fun. Pay was okay, but it was also in Sherman Oaks funny enough.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And 2 of the guys that I lived with that also worked with me on Cosmic, I recommended them when I got hired there. So that was my thank you to them for helping me get that Cosmic gig. But yeah, it was funny because not even funny, but looking back, it's oh my gosh. When I first got the gig, I ended up getting stuck in New Jersey because I was there on vacation seeing family because there was flight issues that I was having. My first day was supposed to be when I got stuck. So one of the guys I was living with that I recommended ended up filling in for me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think that's how I remember it. But after that, I did that character design gig for Cartoon Network, and a friend of mine who was living on their own in Glendale asked if I could be his roommate. And at the time, when I was living with the guys, I was getting a little kind of claustrophobic. I wanted to be a little bit closer to Burbank. I wanted to, I got sick of just not having my own bedroom. It was just one of those things.
That kind of
sucks. Hey,
yeah. To be fair, you guys were there was people in bedrooms, who had been there, I think, longer, so that was the hierarchy. And then then there was a living room, where I remember you had your bed and you had your drawing set up, and it was, it was definitely sort of college dorm, so to speak,
It was gnarly.
Tons of fun. I mean, like I said, you could do whatever you wanted, and you had a great time. But yeah, after a while, you want some privacy. You want to have your own bathroom, your own,
yeah, and yeah, for the first couple of years, it was whatever, I gave myself that grace. It's just like, hey, there's just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we're gonna get another place, and I'll have my own. But for almost the entire time, my bed was in a living room.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
Having to kind of catch up on your sleep while people are making breakfast and coffee around you, and just kind of flitting about, started getting on my nerves, and I felt like I was getting on people's nerves, just kind of being this, person just there all the time, and and it finally just kind of like I had it up to here, and just like we moved to another place out of the Canyon Country location to Granada Hills, and it was just the main three guys, they all got their own bedrooms, and
nice.
I got the living room again, and I'm just like, and I did.
Back to square one.
Yeah, right. And so I'm like, all right, you guys,
excuse me.
I appreciate you keeping me around for so long, putting up with my stuff, and like, like we were fine all together. Like, we got along, and we all loved watching movies together, and we all have a lot of overlapping interests and kind of viewpoints about the world, and it was. But I just needed privacy, man. Enough was enough. So I moved out. I took my friend's offer, which ended up being one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my life.
Oh no!
I'm telling you, like, it's when you're those first couple years when you're on your own, it can either be great or, oh my gosh. So what ended up happening was he couldn't find work, and he had to move out because
oh shoot,
there was no work for him to do. So he ended up moving back to Texas.
Oh gosh,
paying rent from Texas and working at an auto mechanic, and
we're
just kind of there still. He's still on the lease.
Wow.
And we couldn't break it. We signed. It's like, hey, we're gonna be here this time.
Yeah.
And we had two other guys move in with us. Yeah. And then what ended up happening is, he couldn't pay the rent anymore. I just finished that Magiswords gig, that last character design gig. I had nothing coming in. And we had this fifth guy move in with us who was none the wiser. He was a musician and a DJ. And
jeez.
And then it just became this giant issue where it's just like, oh my gosh, we can't stay here. We can't afford this. We got to get out of here. And then it just became this big awful thing where it's just like, how are we going to pay for this? How we can't break the lease. We can't get off of here. And then after it was just this huge nightmare. And then at the same time, I was working for another friend of mine, kind of doing similar what we did with that wrestling project. He was just having me help him under the table on some freelance for this hot client in Germany. And it was a storyboarding gig. And I was so stressed out and distracted with this apartment situation that I started messing up on this freelance gig.
Oh, no. Jeez.
So I have my friend just going like, hey, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. What's going on, dude? What's going on with the apartment? And he was trying to be like empathetic and everything.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I had to ask for help from one of my friends who I no longer live with, and it's just like it was so embarrassing because I didn't know who else to turn to get this thing done because I had to do this thing all over, and so at the end of it, I was ready to just go home and give up. It's just like cosmic toast. This desert of an industry with no work, my boring, uninteresting artwork.
Oh my God.
My lack of privacy. I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
And we ended up finishing the thing, thanks to all the help we got. And my friend who was living where I'm living right now was just like, okay, Andy, I tell you what, I just got an offer from this company in Indonesia. They need and this guy's like a 30, 40-year veteran already. He knows what he's doing. He's like, they need my help putting out a fire in this production. I'm going to go move there temporarily. Do you want to live here?
Whoa.
And I'm like,
wow.
What? And
wow.
So I'm like, yeah. And I'm just this mess. I thought I was like this close to having like a nervous breakdown, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, great. So he took pity on me, got me on the lease, introduced me to the landlord. I lived here for a year, and my one friend who was pissed at me, who happened to be one of my college friends, was living with me in Glendale. So he had to, scramble to find a place to live after we escaped the Glendale situation.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get him to come live here, and it took a while, but eventually I finally got him to come live with us, and I got fully on the lease, and we've been here ever since.
Wow.
And yeah, I was just a mess. It's like, what do I do now?
Jeez.
So I put myself back together, and then that same friend who helped me on that project that I was really goofing on, got a job on Animaniacs.
Wow.
The reboot.
My gosh.
Thanks to a mutual friend of ours who was doing revisions on it. And I'm like, wow, that's, and I was happy for him. I didn't want to be jealous. I didn't want, but, and then he told me one of my favorite artists on the face of the earth was like the head character designer. And that's when I got jealous. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
And, and I'd met her a couple times at CTN, just like, one of my biggest inspirations. And,
wow.
So what ended up happening with that was one of the board artists had left. They weren't having like a great time on it. They weren't getting along with the director or whatever. And they moved over to Cuphead. And that was made over at Netflix. And there was an empty seat. So,
jeez.
My friend calls me, and you got to try not to get emotional about this.
Wow.
So he calls me, and he tells me, he's just like, hey, so I'm still on Animaniacs, but there's an empty seat. I told them about you, because at the time I was working on something for myself. I was just putting myself back together and just living off of what I had in the bank still, and just working on my own projects. And I had this board that I was working on, like this very filmic, cinematic board that I was working on. And he's just like, can you send me that board you're working on so I can show it to them? And I'm like, yeah. So I send it to them. And he gets back to me and he's just like, okay, Andy, whatever you're doing, I need to talk to you.
Okay.
And I'd never heard a more serious voice in my life. Just like, he's just like, they're going to give you a test. I know you were having a real hard time on that last project, and I had to come help you and everything, but
whoa,
if you don't pass this test, I'm going to kill you.
Damn. Wow.
And I'm like, tell them to send me the test. And
wow.
Thankfully, I had time to just kind of. So they send me a test, and it's just, hey, here's the script, and it's a script-based show. Thanks for your interest.
Wow.
Board this 4-minute scene, and get it to us in 4 days. I got it to them in 2. And
whoa.
I was like a bat out of hell. I remember just studying the living crap out of the new designs and everything. I was like my heart was pounding. I'm just like,
a lot of people don't know, like a test, like a lot of times you've never drawn the characters, you've never done anything on the show, like, and I mean, obviously you had grown up with the show probably, again, as a kid, and suddenly like you're thrust on it and it's like, oh my gosh, like I got to be an expert in like, under 48 hours, so the pressure, is sometimes just incredible. But like, I love the fact that like your back's against the wall, you've gone through hell, and you're ready for more. You're ready, like, all right, cool, let's bring it on. Like this is what I'm here to do, and I'm gonna do it.
It blows my mind when I learn about things that humans have been throughout history.
Yeah,
just the what the human spirit can endure. Yeah, and I was so ready to give up. It's just like, maybe this just isn't my thing. Maybe I should have stuck with music. Maybe I should have just tried harder at a normal job. And it was just all this regret. And I'm just like, well, I'm stuck out here now. I don't have any money. I don't,
Right.
But they get back to me and they're like, welcome aboard.
Damn. Wow.
We love your test. You want to do an interview? And I'm like, yes.
Sure.
And I just kind of got up, like, took this giant deep breath, and looking back on this, it was kind of silly, but I didn't let myself celebrate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was just like, it's time to get back to work. There's no time to jump up and down, and like, I was relieved, I was happy, but I'm like, no, this is serious. This is, a dream job. Like, focus, because like, and
wow.
So that was one of the best experiences I've had. It was a hard show.
I can imagine.
A bunch of my like core friends that I made out here, like my core contacts, I met all on that show.
Whoa.
The amount of learning and compassion I received on that show from others, the kinship that I felt, like we were like this, like I had never worked anywhere like this. And I heard that the same from my friends as well. They were like, I've never had this many friends on a show before. You guys were like my life for a while. And it's like, and every time we came to work, it didn't feel like work. It was just like, oh hey. It's just like, hey neighbor, just like every day. And we would make these massive caravan like exoduses to like Starbucks, and just like in this big group, and we all had something to talk about with one another. Like there was always something to talk about. It wasn't just people kind of like with their noses down, like it was a titmouse, just like stressed out and they don't want to talk to you, like and looking back, it's just like, because they were stressed out and they were trying to keep their minimum wage animation job in New York. I hope they're okay.
Gosh.
But
literally, right?
I learned something after that kind of blew my mind. So my friend that helped me get the job, he's just one of the things that I wanted to do, that I wanted to apologize to him for putting him through that, and just kind of like the rash decisions. It's just like, hey, you and me, I just want to talk. And we had this nice conversation, and, it was very stern. It's like, hey, here's where I messed up. Here's where I could have done a lot better. And he's just like, I have something to tell you. When I showed the guys at Animaniacs your test, they said, all right, he's got the job. And he's like, hold on.
Whoa.
Because they floated the idea of giving me a test. And one of them was just like, no, he doesn't need a test. Let's just bring him in. We need somebody right now to fill this, and he can do it. So, and my friend was just like, no, give him the test. Because what he said was just like, I don't know where you were at after that fiasco. Mentally. I don't, I didn't want to recommend someone who was just still in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
So what he basically told me, he's like, you had the job. You could have just went in.
Right.
And I was like,
it was yours to lose.
Honestly thankful.
You know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and
my gosh.
I'm telling you, like, 99% of your survival in this industry is your, community.
Yeah.
It is the people, the company you keep. They're gonna save your life.
Wow.
If you look out for one another, they are going to look out for you. It's the only way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about, because, again, like, you think to yourself, oh, cartoons, it's just like any other job. You go, you do your job, you go home, and like maybe you're kind of close to some of the coworkers or not, whichever. But it's vital in the animation industry for you to have these bonds and these, I want to even say it goes further than that, like alliances with these people, because someone's going to get a gig somewhere else and they're going to be the ones that are say, hey, like, I got a friend who's, looking for work or looking for X, Y, and Z. And then if, vice versa, you're in that position, you now have the opportunity to reach out to another buddy that, might have helped you. And so it's just this really wonderful sort of like, just looking out, like you said, for one another, because, it can always happen, things can always slow down, and I got the best advice I ever got, like my first year working in the animation industry. And one of the veterans told me, hey, like every job you're ever going to do is going to come to an end. So just know that, and at the time I thought it was like the darkest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, wow, what a thing to say. I just, my first job, why would he tell me that, but honestly, he just wanted me to know, like, hey, this is the nature of the beast. It's up to you to be smarter, and it's up to you to be, mindful of like what the landscape is, the social network is, and know, what you should be doing to create great relationships with people, not just the company, but the actual people that you're working with. Because I can't tell you the amount of times, like, someone's now directing somewhere, or now they're producing somewhere, and it's just like, oh, hey, like, do you remember that one dude who was like super cool? And, like, and again, it'll, like, the seeds you plant, will grow into like, a mighty oak. Your mighty oak
That's
being
true,
the Animaniacs, one of the most iconic shows, to ever be on TV. But it's incredible to see that, like all the things you had gone through. I always tell people, like, if you just watch cartoons, you really are only seeing a quarter of what's happening. If you could only know the actual people who do it, you would be so much more fascinated, and that's like why I love doing this podcast, is like giving people the opportunity to actually know the person and know what they went through and know that they're human just like you. Because so much of the time, my DMs are like, kids just like who feel like they'll never have an opportunity to do what they love, or, oh, I can never be like that person I idolize, But when they listen to these stories, I mean, they just can really see like, wow, this person is, as fractured as I am, or this person had to go through so much to get to where they want to be. And I think, again, like I said, just the fact that you've been so honest and just so open, with what you've experienced and what you've gone through. I mean, so vulnerable. We talked about our name, Andy, as being this sort of like, vulnerable. Maybe that was a foreshadowing, about who we are as people, like we're so sensitive, and like I said, this is not a very sensitive world. This world can be very harsh and, very demanding at times, and it's going to test you, man. This thing is going to test. It's like a bull you jump onto its back, and you're just, you're just going with it, getting as much as you can, before you get bucked off and then got to get up again, but
yeah. You got to be stubborn, man.
If I could have you talk to, kids coming out of school now, people who have yet to, get their first, job or anything, what would you say to them? Like, what would you say to the 20-something version of yourself just coming out of school now in 2026? Do you have anything to say to them?
Yeah. Man, where do I start?
Hello?
I have meditated on this. I have meditated on this. Like, I remember making some kind of schmaltzy posts about it in the past, but in all earnesty, just I'd probably say, pick a vocation, and stick with it. Just stop trying to do everything at once. Because I had this mentality where it's just like, I gotta be chasing everything. Everything's just gotta be at 10 all the time, because you never know who's gonna, reach out or see you, or, if you're gonna make a point to do that, share that, be consistent about that. This is what I'm working on. This is what I'm sticking with, because I believe what people like to see is just commitment. People like to see projects. It's like, oh, this guy's, got a vision. This guy's like a doer. They're committed. They're not just kind of wishy-washy. And for me, it was really intimidating because I get bored real easily, and a project. A thing I have to stare at for months. Oh, and it's so. Believe me, it's so intimidating to just kind of have this giant idea in your head and kind of stare at it and be like, oh, I don't know how I can conquer this giant in my head, but yeah, if I were to tell myself anything, just pick one thing at a time. Just do one thing at a time. The rest will happen. Because if you don't, then you're just trying to do everything all at once, and then nothing gets done. You got to kind of farm your own dopamine. You have to be like, hey, I did that. I finished something. Give yourself micro goals. Just one little thing at a time. And because if it's just this giant pile of stuff, you're forcing yourself to have to pick from this giant pile of Legos every day, and it's tough because we're impatient. Artists are impatient, and some artists are patient. They're like magical people. I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but it's patience too. Yeah. Be patient. That's probably the main thing, because I was so disorganized coming out of school. I was disorganized up until that point where it's just I really dropped the ball on this, helping my friend on this storyboard. I really it was I was making dumb mistakes because I was so clogged with stress, and
that's amazing. I think, again, like I said, just it's incredible just to see, like I said, your journey. I mean, it's absolutely amazing just to see how much hard work you've put into this, how much you've sacrificed, how much dedication you've put into your craft and continue to put into your craft. And like I said, I was so happy, like I said, the moment Richard had, kind of started talking about you, because I was just like I hadn't heard him that excited, in a very long time, he was always sort of gloomy, every day at work, and just kind of, well, so-and-so doesn't like me, and so-and-so, but then when he talked about you, he's just like, well, Andy, he did this, and and when I finally got a chance to meet you, I always notice something about you too, the people who love you really love you. They are just die hard, like absolutely like for you, and I think like that goes to show, who you are as a person, because I think you are equally as like dedicated to your friends. I really like always have admired that about you, and
Thank you.
never got a big head, never, like I said, thought you're better than anybody else. You just always were like a pleasure to work with and to be around, and I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want, to be around people that, we share common things with, and, share the love of drawing and creation. And again, like I said, I would love to invite people to discover or rediscover your work. Where can people find you? Where can they find you online, in terms of your art, or if they'd want to hire you for, your next job, like, where can they find you?
Thank you for all of that. That was really, really, your words are so kind, man. Like, coming from someone who, yourself really kind of takes the time to listen and help others and just try to, you really do, you really did and still do, use your platform to listen to others and help people grow and, find the best in people, give them advice. And, we need more people like that, because I think a lot of folks, they're either really busy or they're not quite people. And it could be tough. Like, oh, what am I giving the wrong advice? But yours is usually, very, very, very sound, very, very well researched, and just kind of having that early on was valuable, and I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So to find me, I do have a website. It's AndrewSchermanAnimation.com.
Nice.
It's just my first and last name, animation, all lowercase.
I'll add a link to it as well. So
yeah, thank you. I'm the most active on my Blue Sky accounts. That's at Sharpie Sketch. Everywhere else, the handle I usually use is at Sharp Dressed Reptile, all lowercase. And the reason it's Sharpie Sketch on places like Twitter or Blue Skies is the character count. I had to come up with something on the fly, so that one just stuck. Yeah, like whenever I show up at gatherings, especially like with my fellow furry friends, that's my nickname. They call me Sharps or Sharpie, and it's just like that'll work.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, I'm also on Instagram as Sharp Dressed Reptile.
And if someone wants to hire you professionally, is there like basically they can just reach out to you through Blue Sky? That's also like your professional way to reach you as well.
They totally, like, DMs would be great. I usually go through email, and my email is like right at the top of my website.
Okay.
Yeah, and I could just also say it. It's just ASCHERMAN100@gmail.com. And I check it multiple times a day. So, and yeah, like I think my top three are Instagram. Actually, you know what? Like it's mostly top two, Instagram and Blue Sky.
Yeah.
I try to keep it lean these days. It's managing multiple platforms can get really
it does. It gets a little. For some reason, LinkedIn has become my number one now. It was like the place I hated the most because I was like, thought it was such an ugly website. I'm like, oh, this is so gross. It's just like business people, like, like this is not a good place for creatives, but
yeah.
For some reason, I mean, it's just stuck. And, a big reason why this podcast was born was because of LinkedIn. So, yeah, it's always kind of, a weird thing, but I will make sure to, get all of your socials so I can, put them into the video, in the caption so, people can, find you. But man, I really just want to thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. Like I said, I've just again, cherished your friendship for many many years. It's been, what a journey. I mean, with you and the other guys too from the Burbank and Canyon Country days. I mean, like I said, those are just memories I'll just hold with me forever. So if you're ever in Texas, man, please let me know, because I'd love to take you out for some barbecue out here, and hopefully I'll be in California soon. Visiting. I still got a lot of family and friends out there, but yeah, man, definitely interesting times here in Texas.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you letting me come on and ramble. Like, I hope that people hearing this can get something from it. It's super awesome that you're reaching out to people like me and others and just hearing all these different perspectives, because that's really that's what people really need to hear. Like, because it felt so, like, for the longest time, like, once you make it, you're just kind of like this untouchable, like,
right,
kind of guru, like you're just kind of like this happy Buddha almost. It's just like, I don't know if that's just like, I think everybody kind of has their own like vision, like I have Andy vision, Richard has Richard vision, it's just like,
right.
I'd meet so many professionals that just had this confidence, this like, yeah, right on. And but what I realized is just like, well, that's, kind of the key to their success. They're just personable and cool, and overshare, and they're just mellowed out, and it's just, I don't know if they're masking, or that's just kind of like their outdoor ads, but like they just have that control, they just have that swagger, like, and it could be hard to just be like, oh, how should I act? It's just like, no, just like be yourself, but like, listen to other people's experiences, just, and understand that this is an industry that changes constantly. Like, we're treading really untested waters right now. I'm not for it or against it. Most of it I'm against. Let's be real. All this AI business, but I just say some of my favorite advice that I've seen going out there is build your farm. Just like be your build that. Like, now is the time to build that thing you've been wanting to build. Because I don't think. I think the whole industry is kind of going through a huge upheaval. It's never going to be the same again. And the future is stuff like this, podcasting, independent animation, doing your own thing, and because there's so much change happening, and we can't. I don't think we can really depend on a lot of these places anymore, with these mergers and these billionaires just kind of wheeling and dealing. I don't want to get too political, but I just want to see what everybody makes. I just want to see what all of you create. I can't wait to share what I'm working on now. So
I'm going to be watching, man, for sure. Like I said, I'm a diehard Andy fan as well. So, Awesome, buddy. Well, thank you again. You have a wonderful evening, and we'll definitely be talking soon, buddy.
Thank you so much, and thanks for everybody for listening.
You got it, my friend. Take care. Have a good night.
Take care. Yeah, you too, man.
Bye.